Hey, Max Impactors, this is Tim Rosanelli here with my co-producer, or should I say co-producer, or just, there's no co, so it's
I
just
produce
producer.
everything.
Yeah, you produce everything with my producer, Justin Olivieri.
Hey, yo.
And here we go. We're going to get started. So Justin has for our thought of the week, or kid thought of the week, Justin has a pretty good story from this week.
Yeah, so we have a student, and both of her parents are doctors. And somehow it came up in class how her parents have two different last names. I think she asked about
Probably
what
professionally.
what my wife's last name is. And I was like, oh, your parents' last names are different? She's like, yeah. I was like, oh, that makes sense because your mom was a doctor. Your parents were doctors before they got married, right? You're like, yeah.
They wanted to keep their
I was like,
professional
okay,
name.
so they, it's a lot of work for just my wife, and she's not a doctor with all these other things she has to change. And she's like, oh, okay. And I was like, she's still trying to change it. She's got to go to the DMV and get her driver's license and stuff changed. She's like, oh, why didn't she get it changed yet? I was like, the lines are too long, so she's going to wait till later. She's like, so we go through, 2 minutes later, we finished another drill. She's at the front of the line. She's like, so is your wife waiting for the line to get down to 3 people, or... I just started laughing.
So I guess 3 people is a long line to Emma.
Well, no, I think she's like, it's a long line, so is she waiting for it to get down to 3 people, or does it need to be 2 people?
Well, I've been at the DMV, and it's never going to be 3 people.
No.
It's always 100 deep in there.
Yeah.
So that's a great story, though.
DMV around here.
All right, so I have something for you, Justin. Again, I'm going to divulge a huge secret today.
Ooh, secrets.
Yeah, this is the great reveal.
This better be good. You've been talking this up for a while.
Yeah, so I've been doing teasers with Justin all week on this. But, the way I think, now a lot of people out there might not know, but my background is in science. That's what I have my degree in. And I think of a lot of things as an experiment. Pretty much like life, to me, is kind of like an experiment. Our dojo started out as I was actually doing an experiment on, starting a dojo. So here's the big experiment, and I've experimented, and I have a few of these too, by the way, but here's one of the biggest secrets that I've ever kept. I mean, this experiment's been going on for over 10 years, and it has to do with my wife. She loves Cosmos. So, and it always has to be top shelf vodka. So over the years, I was making these, and I thought, this is a perfect experiment. I don't think the average person could taste the difference in vodka. And people come over to my house, and they always want to try my Cosmos because, my wife says how good they are. Especially
with all the other things mixed in.
Yeah.
You're not saying people can't tell the difference of vodkas next to each other. You're saying when it's in a mixed drink.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd like to see if people... I don't think a lot of people do shots of vodka anyway. It would be interesting to do a shot of vodka experiment, but that would be a little intense. So this is what I did. I figured nobody could tell the difference in vodka, so I changed the vodka in my Cosmo and wanted to see if anybody would notice. So it started off with Smirnoff, because I thought that was a cheap vodka. And then it went to, I nobody noticed, and I'm like, I'm just going to try the absolute crappiest vodka I could find. So I looked for the cheapest vodka, and how do you say it? Crown Russe? Is that what we said it was? Russe? Russe? I don't know how to pronounce it even. And it's probably not
cheap
even... Cheap
stuff.
Yeah, it's probably not even worth pronouncing. And I've done this for 10 years, and... what I do is I actually started taking a Belvedere, which is the type of vodka my wife liked, and I would funnel this cheap vodka into it and then make Cosmos with it. So everybody would see me with a Belvedere bottle, and I wanted to see if people would just believe that it was top shelf and the same stuff we did for years. And nobody ever noticed. So the cheap vodka wins.
So, just as a PSA for all you guys out there, your local watering holes are probably using Vlad's instead of something good.
Did you see that there was actually a case where people sued a bar because they were doing that? They were putting in, I think this was down in, was it the Caribbean or Florida Well, I know some people almost died in Florida, the Caribbean, because they were doing something really bad. But there was a bar or something, or a chain or something like that was actually doing this, and nobody noticed. And then I guess they saw it happening, and then they got in big trouble. Yeah, they got in trouble for it. So, and I did this experiment for years, like changing. So I didn't just do the same vodka. So, Justin was saying, well, I've tasted your Cosmos, and, like it was different than my daughter's, which she got my recipe for. But I said, well, you wouldn't know, because I sometimes would do the really good stuff, and then I'd switch to the really cheap stuff, and then I would do a middle. Like I tried all different types of vodka to see if anybody noticed any difference, and I never had anybody notice a difference in it.
So you were doing it before they were drunk, right?
Yeah, before they were drunk. Yeah, it wasn't like, and I wouldn't switch. I don't think I ever switched like between in a night. Like the beginning of the night, I was doing expensive stuff.
Might have to be the next experiment.
Yeah.
For the people that don't listen to this podcast, our wives.
Well, I think your wife does, right?
Yeah, she caught up on all of them, and then she was like, well, actually, I said this, and actually this, and I was like,
yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just trying to, it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But at least she showed me that she actually listened to it and didn't just tell me.
So my final result is that people cannot tell the difference in mixed drinks if you use vodka. Now, I don't know if this is the same with other alcohols, because I think, some alcohols do have more of a distinct flavor to it.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with vodka is the purity of it. It's how they judge it on. So, like, you got stuff like just the, like, classic, like, cheap college vodkas, like Vlad's.
Yeah.
And, like, they'll, like, actually try to, like, strain it and make it taste better.
Yeah.
Just because of all the impurities in it. So I think it depends on how much time they spent on the impurity, filtering on how good the vodka is. There's also a difference between potato vodka and wheat vodka. Wheat vodka to me is like really smooth, and potato vodka to me tastes like something died in it.
So which do you know what an example of a potato versus a wheat vodka? I've never really
we
noticed.
went to a distillery. Actually, for one of our wedding presents you guys got us was a tour of a distillery, and so they had all sorts of alcohols, and they have a platinum level vodka, and this guy was a chemist before he got into making spirits, and so he does everything like scientific, goes through with a scientist's mind. And
did he have both types or just
so he had both types? Okay. And they were both platinum, which there's only I think he said there's only 14 other platinum vodkas in the world.
Yeah. And
he has 2 of them. One's potato, one's wheat. And I tried the potato. I was like, this is gross, man. Like, it tastes like, I could probably get used to it, but it tastes like something died in it. Because it's literally, it tastes like rotting vegetables.
So
and the wheat one's really smooth. Yeah. Like, it doesn't really have that taste to it.
Yeah, I wonder why you would have vodka made out of 2 different things. You'd think that would be 2 different alcohols.
Probably because people didn't like the wheat or the potato vodka.
And then they just made something similar but called it.
It probably has something to do with regions.
Yeah.
Certain regions of we're at, I know Russians, are synonymous with vodka, so it probably, potato vodka or something like that. It's like a cheaper way of making it than they tried making it out of wheat, or maybe it's a region thing. I don't know, but I know that there's 2 different types and they taste totally different.
Yeah. Well, in the future, I think I'm going to tell you, I have some other experiments that I've been doing, and maybe I was thinking maybe for a section.
He's been opening up my brain and poking it, and prodding it, and see what makes me twitch.
I don't think experiments really affect you. Maybe you had one of my Cosmos, but
I'm not fit to be a guinea pig, apparently.
Well, I'm thinking in the future for our podcast, we should actually try to do stuff. Like, we have some stuff coming up in the future, and I think we should, self-development stuff. Yeah. And maybe we should go out and use some of the stuff and try it for a week, and then we can come back and kind of report back to people on what our self-experimentation was.
But not something like, what do I have to do that's bad enough to make you mad or anything? Not like that, right?
No, these are positive, like
positive experiments.
like positive mental state changes.
Gotcha.
And we have something coming up in a week. I think we're going to be recording a podcast on something similar to this in a week, which will be a good teaser. And maybe I'm trying to look for something that we could actually do that would be kind of an experiment. So, well, let's go into our next topic. So we're going to start this one out, and I wanted to talk to Justin about this thing I saw, and it's called Cyberlink. And this is Elon Musk, and it's a new thing that I just saw and they talked about. And do you know much about this?
No, I don't know anything about the Cyberlink. I heard you and Curtis talking about it.
Yeah.
But I don't know anything about it.
Okay, so this is what Cyberlink is. They're going to take these things that are like threads, and they're going to have them inserted into your brain, and they're close enough to your neurons in your brain so that they can actually communicate with your brain. And then you're going to have like
communicative brainweave.
Yeah, and then you're going to have this like thing behind your ear, I think it was, that attaches to the wires in your brain. And the first stage of it is to help people with like Alzheimer's remember stuff, because it will store what you think and see. And then also people, I think, with Parkinson's disease, because, you know, they have tremors and stuff. And they've already did experiments with putting electrodes in people with Parkinson's brain to stop the tremors and some of the symptoms. But the next stage of it is where people like regular guys like us could get it and get basically super memory. And then the third phase, I think, don't get me, totally quote me on the phase, but the third phase is actually hooking you into the internet directly through your brain.
Ready Player One.
Yeah, you'll be able to. Yeah. So what do you think of this? I mean, do you think it's a good thing, a bad thing? I mean, I know my opinion.
Parkinson's thing, stage 1. Yes, I think that's a good idea. So, especially if it's helping people that are suffering from, twitches or would you say Alzheimer's?
Where they can't remember anything.
I think that's good. The only problem I have with everything electronical, especially when you hook it up to the internet, is it can be hacked.
Who's control?
So
who's controlling your brain?
Do you really want like a 14-year-old kid that hacked into the Pentagon and then he's like, okay, I'm going to try people's brains now?
Yeah.
Well,
with everything going across with Google trying to slightly try to influence people by just doing things like changing what comes up, because there's a bias. When you're talking about Google, somebody has to be the top result. So that means that's a bias, but the question is that computer bias, or is that like there's somebody behind that typing up this algorithm that's going to make that the top? Do you trust exactly what that is going into your brain? I mean, that's one part that I have a problem with.
Well, what if like EMPs, right? So that's the one thing that everybody was worried about.
EMP your brain.
For I remember when pacemakers, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, what if the EMP goes off? Well, I guess my ticker stops ticking then, But your brain, if you actually, like, people who are just trying to do it to access the internet, like, is it going to do bad things to your brain if you get, like, EMP? Now, I'm not saying, like, conspiracy theory EMPs are going to get dropped and, like, take out our whole grid. I'm just saying sometimes things can happen where, interference. Like, what if you got this weird interference because somebody's doing something not supposed to, and all of a sudden your brain explodes?
Can you imagine if you're hearing static in your brain, like through? Oh man, the other thing I'm a little worried about is, like, if you do that, would that cause some kind of atrophy of your atrophy? I mean, of your regular brain. Like, this thing you're supposed to be able to turn on and off, but think about kids. Like, when kids get overstimulated playing video games, real life almost becomes too boring.
Yeah.
And is this going to overstimulate our brains so that when we take it off, like, you can't really think like
how good's the parental controls on this? Because I got to be able to turn it off so Elijah's not playing with it while he's supposed to be sleeping.
Yeah.
Were you up all night playing with your brainstem video games again?
Yeah. Well, that's one of my problems too with it, is like, I think we have all these like aspirations that's going to make people more intelligent and we're going to be superhumans. And then, people just use it for really dumb reasons.
Talk about cyberbullying in your brain.
Yeah, they'll be like, people will be like cyberbullying people and
dirty and bad things.
Yeah, and gaming. Like, oh, wow, I got this brain thing. Now I'm just gonna play games all day. Like, you're sitting on a train going to work and you're playing a video game or something.
Yeah. It's already like that with your phone. You don't need it implanted into your brain.
Yeah.
I do think like it helping people, obviously that's better. Super memory, probably don't need that. I
don't know.
Don't mess with your biology that much. Just get better at memory.
We know that people who have high intelligence levels don't usually have good common sense, and that's because they get into static forms of thinking. In other words, when we are really smart, we think that everything we think is correct, so we have trouble in that static mind of thinking, kind of not thinking in that static way, and that's what creates no common sense, right?
Yeah.
So does that mean that these guys will have no common sense? Can you imagine a bunch of people running around, nobody has any common sense? Doesn't sound like the dream future to me. I don't know. So I have to give a thumbs down for Cyberlink. What do you think?
All right. Stage 1, thumbs up. Stage 3, thumbs down. Stage 2, kind of in the middle. Because I could see certain people, for some reason, needing to have better memory. But then you have to go through the point of like, so it is a program, right?
Yeah.
So can you delete what memories you have and what memories, you choose to keep? Because we always learn from things, but, you got an embarrassing memory, and then you erase that, and then you do it over and over again because you don't remember not to do that again because it was embarrassing.
Yeah.
And you deleted it. Maybe stuff like that. I don't know. But I think if you want to improve your memory, then there's ways that you can do that.
Yeah. Well,
speaking of memory,
so why don't we talk about
that's what we were going to talk about
This
today.
was the whole lead-in into a memory discussions, because instead of using the Cyberlink version of it, how about we actually do things that are going to help our memory get better, So what do you think?
I think I've been doing some memory research, and I'm ready to drop some knowledge on you.
You're going to drop a knowledge bomb on us?
Maybe not a bomb. Maybe like a fart bomb, maybe.
A missile.
All right, so
a pea shooter.
Things that improve your memory. Cardio. They recommend 30 minutes of cardio at least a couple times a week to increase blood flow to the hippocampus, which is the part of your brain that's responsible for learning and memory.
I could totally believe that, because when I exercise, like, think about it. Like, I don't know how many times I went in and your brain's kind of foggy, and then I go in and do, like, last night I did a kickboxing workout and I had maybe a slight headache or, a little foggy, and you do the kickboxing, you feel great and your mind's clear. So I could totally see that helping your memory.
Another thing is the hippocampus actually in late adulthood will shrink about 1 to 2% a year. And being active.
Oh, no. Are you saying that my hippocampus is shrinking?
And later in life, exercise will actually decrease the shrink rate.
Okay.
So if you're more active when you're older, your learning and memory center will actually shrink less because you're getting more blood flow to it.
That's something I was taught in karate. When you do karate, if you're doing it as a lifetime endeavor, so when you get into your 20s, actually our deepest level of flexibility is at 14, and then you get into your fastest speed is when you're in your 20s. Your strength can be greatest in your 30s, and then
like
your
35,
40s.
They say it's usually like the top.
Yep, yeah, and then 40s is cardio. And I always was taught, though, if you try to get to the best level of fitness in your 20s and everything, kind of maintain it a little while, and then once you get into your 40s, you're going to gradually drop. But if you're already at a higher level by that time, your body's built extra capillaries in the muscles and things like that you can actually maintain that a lot better and into way later into your life.
Yeah.
Then if you just never work out again once you get to your 20s, you're already you kind of dive, what I mean, and you can never get back up there. And that sounds like almost the same as that hippocampus is that, if you don't let it deteriorate then once you get a little older, it doesn't deteriorate as much.
Yeah. Well, that also, like, because it is, proven that older people aren't as smart, as in, like, they can't remember things, they can't problem solve as much. And the hippocampus is part of that because it is learning and memory.
Yeah.
Helps out with that. Another thing is eating healthy. Treat your body and have a well-balanced diet to make sure that you have all the nutrients and vitamins your brain needs to function at peak performance. So there are brain foods. I'm sure you guys heard about some of them, like, blueberries they say are good for your brain and other things. But I think just junk can bog it down too.
Well, I think when you have too much sugar in your diet, you have those sugar crashes. And I'm almost positive that if you get those sugar crashes, that you probably are a little foggier with your memory than, when keep your blood sugar level at a even keel. I can totally see that. Yeah.
Yeah. And also I think, if your body's feeling good, then you have less distractions. Like if you feel like crap and you're, all bogged down, then I think that you will not be able to use your brain as efficiently when you're worried about other things or other things are in the way as well. Another thing is sleep. Sleep actually does a lot of things. When you sleep, your brain consolidates short-term memory to long-term memories.
Yeah.
So, it's like, what did I like, obviously selective things like, they say when you study and then you fall asleep, your brain actually turns those short-term memories into long-term memories.
Yeah.
Because, it knows it's important.
So you're saying that, like I was thinking when you said sleep at first, we're not just saying that because you're tired, your memory's not as good. You're actually saying that sleeping is a very important process in order to actually get long-term memory.
Right. Because your brain is actually more active when you sleep. A lot of the times they say it's almost more active when you sleep because it's problem solving and it's converting things to memory.
Yeah.
So because you're not using it for other things like walking, eating, stuff like that, then it has more, I guess, room to process those things into long-term memory.
Yeah. I've seen things where they do research and your body clears out something in your brain that builds up from being awake. And when it clears that stuff out, that's also part of what I can't remember what it is because this is kind of off the cuff. But it clears out something in your brain,
It's
and
called
that's
plaque.
what.
That was my next point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So okay,
So it's all right. So
hey,
your brain,
perfect lead-in.
your brain cleans out plaque when you sleep, which causes when aging issues such as dementia, like they have connected plaque in your brain to dementia. The same thing, like there's plaque in your heart and stuff like that. It's just I think it's just gunk, that slows things down and can cause issues. So your brain actually cleans out plaque when you're sleeping.
Oh, so you're saying that maybe that's a solution. I don't know if they're doing research on that for dementia. I wonder if there's a way, like maybe dementia is caused by people not being able to clear that out as good.
Old people sleep a lot.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So maybe sleep's not totally the answer for that.
Yeah. Also, your brain, like I said, was very active when you're dreaming, and solves problems and integrates things into your memory. But there's a lot of things that actually have been dreamt up, no pun intended, during sleep. Like
my favorite, like, can I give you my favorite is you're talking about like what was it, Paul McCartney thinking of yesterday by just dreaming about it, and he woke up and he had the song in his head already.
Yeah, he had the tune stuck in his head and he's like, all right, let's put some words to this.
Yeah, and that became yesterday.
The sewing machine was actually, so this guy was trying to invent the sewing machine and there's these problems he couldn't solve, so his brain actually solved them for him while he was sleeping. He woke up with like the answers to it. Other things
I wish my brain was smart enough to do things to solve my problems while I'm sleeping.
Yeah. Other things like scientific method, the periodic table was seen in a dream the way it's laid out.
Yeah.
The shape of DNA, somebody had a dream and it clicked with his partner and then they came up with the shape of the DNA.
That's Crick and Watson.
Yeah.
Or Watson and Crick. How do they usually say it? Crick and Watson, I think. Yeah.
And then even Jekyll and Hyde and Frankenstein, those stories were actually based off of dreams that the writers had.
When you see how messed up the actual stories are, yeah, I can see why.
Probably more like nightmares.
It's like
than anything
nightmare.
else.
Yeah.
Yeah, so your sleep is very important for memory because it, transfers, it gets rid of plaque, which I'm sure doesn't help out with memory. And it also, it problem solves for you too. So it's very important for just your brain in general. Another thing is keep phones away from your brain when you sleep. There's a study out there that says 90% of kids sleep with their phones under their pillows. Now,
I couldn't believe this fact
I
when you told me.
did that when I was a teenager for like a couple months, and then I heard something like, "Oh, you shouldn't have your phone near your brain," so I kept it on like my bedside table instead. But I did do that for a while, just because it's convenient and
See, I thought that was crazy because I've told you that I don't even sleep with the phone in my room. Like I sleep with it downstairs, and I was like, man, people actually sleep with it under the pillow.
Yeah, I mean, along with all the things that we don't know about it, we do know that the electromagnetic field from your phone does have a negative effect on brain matter. So you definitely don't want to be messing around with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's okay if you have phone calls and stuff like that, but don't like sleep with it underneath your pillow.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Also, another thing is people used to think, like, when I grew up, I'm not sure if it was the same way for you, but everybody's like, every single time you got hit in the head, oh, you just lost brain cells. You should have, you're never going to get those back. You should have been more careful.
Drank, something that was cold and you got brain freeze.
See, I never heard that one before.
Though, I think that it only kills the weak ones. It only kills the weak brain cells.
But what they're actually learning is that your brain actually can create new brain cells and new neural connections.
Okay.
So learning new things actually promotes brain cells to form. So every single time you go out and learn something, your brain makes more brain cells because you need more brain space. Also, thinking about problems can create neurological connections. And now some people say that's why Einstein was so smart, because he had a lot more, neurological connections, so he's really good at problem solving. Whether that's true or not, neurological connections do help, you solve issues faster. So, or better.
The question you have to ask yourself about Einstein is, did he create those neural connections by trying to solve problems and think in new ways, or did he just naturally have it?
Yeah, like was he born with it, or did he create it just by thinking a lot?
Or, there's a lot of activities that we do, and this is kind of funny how this happens all the time. Like, in what you find out is the more you use it, the better it becomes.
Yeah.
And it's just like your muscles, if you just don't exercise, your muscles, get weaker, and if you exercise, they get stronger. So, and there's probably a lot of things we do that if we do will make our memory better.
Yeah. So basically learning new things and thinking about things will promote brain growth and neurological connections. So the formula is kind of like stimulus, which is thinking about things, learning new things, plus proper nutrition for the brain will help, brain growth. So just like we talked about healthy, diet, just make sure you have a wide range of nutrients and vitamins, because you don't want to be deficient in one of them.
Yeah.
And that will really help with, every single time you hit your head, you can grow new ones if you start.
So we're not hopeless.
Things. Yeah.
We're not hopeless when we get punched in the head in karate class or kickboxing or whatever sport you're doing.
And one of the very interesting things is being social is actually very helpful with memory. It's been reported that people with that are 80 and above, with close and rewarding relationships, have had the same skill solving abilities as people in their 50s and 60s.
Well, think about it. I mean, I think when you're talking socially, if you're not isolated, I mean, people challenge your thoughts and make you think. The other thing is just like, I think another thing, I don't know if this is you're going to bring this up, but learning a new language is really good for you. Your cognitive skills.
They say bilingual people,
use their brain more.
Yeah, they have a lot better memory later on in life. They say that there are connections to living longer if you're bilingual. I don't know if that's true, but some studies have been pointing towards that direction.
It's almost like when you're because I was starting to learn Spanish, and it's like your brain almost clicks into a different mode for each language, which is really interesting. It's almost like, and your brain just all of a sudden goes into something else,
Yeah. There's lucky kids that were born into bilingual families.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, they also say that the reason that being social helps with your brain, because remember that problem solving is neural connections. Especially close and meaningful relationships are very complicated.
Yeah.
Because, there's always these social aspects of, they're just complicated. We're married. We know relationships can be complicated at times.
I wonder if that's why when people are married, they tend to live longer, too.
Maybe.
Maybe that it helps you remember things better, and you have somebody that, still communicating to you regularly.
Yeah. And
really helps you out.
It also helps against memory decline when you're older as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Just because, you're using it more.
Yeah. I was telling you that my dad he was for a while there doing a memory drill, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like 12 different scenes so there was scene number 1, scene number 2, scene number 3, and each scene you would put an object in, and it was like to remember like shopping lists and things like that. And
yeah.
I just remembered one of the scenes was a person playing football, and then he hikes the ball, and then he steps back. And I remember my dad was going to the grocery store, and he had to remember to get a loaf of bread. So the loaf of bread was, instead of the football, was a loaf of bread, and that's how you go from I need this from 1, 2, 3, 4, and this might have been number 6 on the list or something. And he used that. I think that's something I might need to do, because I know every time I get sent to the grocery store with a list, I don't know, I have this weird thing where I will get everything on the list but forget one thing.
Well, there's your thought experiment.
Yeah, I think I gotta try that. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna look it up.
I think it could help you, because your memory's not the best I've ever seen.
Thanks.
Not that it's absolutely terrible, but
yeah. Well, I think I think memory-wise, I remember certain things really well, and then but some everyday stuff I just kind of like let slide.
That's everybody's problem, though. The things that matter to you, you remember, and the things that aren't as important to you,
yeah,
they might be important, but they're not as important to you, are a little easier to forget.
Talking about Einstein, maybe I'm like Einstein, because Einstein was supposed to be really smart, but you have to remember that his wife used to have to put a label on him going to his work, so that he would get off at the right train station, because he would have to be reminded to get off at the right train station. So
that was probably just because he was too busy thinking about other things.
Yeah, he was thinking about he was thinking about relativity and stuff like that. So I guess we can forgive him, because I'm sure what I'm thinking that distracts me is a lot less important.
We're just gonna skip over that part. We're just gonna skip over that part where you talked about you being like Einstein.
Yeah, there you go. So I think I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna see if I can find what my dad was working on or something similar, and I'm gonna try it out for like a week, and then I'm gonna report back to you on how well it works.
All right, I'll have to come up with mine. Maybe it'll come out through some more episodes.
Yeah, of memory.
I'm not doing the brainstem.
Yep.
I'm not doing the brainstem thing.
What's the brainstem thing? Like the Cyberlink
Yeah,
thing?
I'm not doing the Cyberlink.
Well, that's cheating. And using your phone to remember something, like you can't go, yeah, my memory got a lot better because I started using the to-do list on my phone.
Maybe I gotta do the memory experiment on like how people remember like a deck of cards, like the order of deck of cards. They got those memory people.
Well, that's like that would be the memory. I've read about that, and that's where you think of the numbers and you put the numbers in a room, like so that when you go around the room, you look at an item and then you remember the number, and then the next item, and you remember the number until you can build it up. I wonder how far. Try an experiment where you see how many numbers you can remember in a row.
Yeah.
And then do it again and see if you can do it like with that method and see if you can
I'm
remember
nothing
a lot
like
more.
Einstein, so it's probably not going to be very good. But
No. I'm sure most people have abilities. Like we used to.
although his memory was bad, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing is I think Einstein, he would even say he would blow off kind of regular thought patterns. Like, for example, he was the one who started, I think, that idea of he would never decide on his clothes, what clothes to wear. He would just always have only a real simple thing you would wear all the time.
Edison did that too.
Yeah.
Where it's like they don't have to want to worry about, they don't want to waste brain power or time on deciding what looks good. They just wear the same outfit every day.
Yeah, because there's this theory out there that we can only make so many decisions a day. And if you use up all those on, kind of mundane things, then you can't use it for more important.
I like just being an average guy.
Well,
I don't want to get that in depth.
I don't totally agree on that because I find I get my best thoughts, like my aha moments come from doing mundane stuff. Like mowing the lawn does it for me all the time. Like when I mow the lawn, I don't know why I have the best ideas when I mow the lawn or I'm walking somewhere. It seems like not just walking from, like in a parking lot, but actually like walking a mile to the dojo or something like that. I get my best ideas. So I don't know if that's well, maybe for me that doesn't work. I think it actually helps me doing mundane things. All right, guys. Well, that was our episode on memory. We're going to go out and try to do some things to improve our memory. And if you have any ideas for us on improving our memory, make sure you email us at thetheory@maximpactkarate.com. And if you want to be on our show, make sure you email us there too. And we'll see you in the next podcast.